video, we're going to see how we can create an endless supply of oranges. Now when you're finished snacking, you can simply create another orange using the scraps from the previous one. Let's see how we got this effect using Filmora 11. We're going to need 3 identical oranges for this effect. Orange number 1 is going to be whole. We're just going to make sure that it's nicely cleaned and dry. Then we have orange number 2, which I have just sliced in half. And then we have orange number 3, which I have sliced into quarters and I've taken out the meat. So they're basically just a rind. And we're going to put this at the start of our video, making it look as if we've just finished eating this orange and we're craving for more. So we're going to need these 3 oranges in the different cutting stage, as well as a table and a knife to show that after we have created this new orange, we're going to be eating it again. Now sit on a chair and place the tripod right in front of you. We're going to be shooting this video on manual and we want to make sure that the tripod's position does not change throughout the entire video. Start your video as if you've just finished eating an orange. For the effect, we're going to take 2 of those rinds, place it on the palm of our hand, and then do this motion. Once we've done that, we're going to freeze in place, have someone replace these 2 with one of the halves. Once you have this in your hand, you're going to resume the movement, so go down. And now we have switched those 2 rinds for a half. Do this with the other 2. And then we're going to grab these 2 halves that we just created, slam them together like this. Once again, we're going to freeze into place, have someone replace these 2 halves with the full orange. Once we have replaced the orange, we're going to start the video like this. And then we will be getting a new orange. Then you can put this on your plate, pretend like you're going to cut into it, and that you're just going to keep doing this until you're full from oranges. The effect is really simple, but the most important thing is those freeze moments. If you move in those freeze moments, you're going to get a bad result. So once you're ready to switch those parts, make sure that you are frozen in place and you do not move. We're going to film the entire thing in one video. So avoid pausing the video and just stay in your place throughout the entire thing. Now that we have our clip, we can now jump into Filmora 11 and put it all together. Import your raw footage onto the timeline and we're going to cut the video on the points where the transition needs to happen. Grab your playhead and now let's find out exactly when we're about to transform these orange rinds into half an orange. And then look for when your hand is up all the way. Make a cut and we're just going to remove the section where our friend helps us switch the orange. Make a cut on where we're about to move down to show our half orange. You can delete the area right here, and now we're going to do the same thing with the other transitions. So now we have these cuts on our videos, and all we have to do is to make them seamless by syncing them with the exact same frame where the transition needs to happen. So drag your second half, bring it above the first one, then we're going to double click on this top video, go to Video, Basic, Compositing, and just lower the opacity. Let's zoom into our timeline because we're going to be working frame by frame. Use your left and right arrow keys and try to align both arms in the videos. Turn off the top track and then look for the motion blur. Right over here, we're going to hit M while selecting the video. Then we're going to unhide the top footage and look for the same motion blur. You can hide the bottom video if it helps. So on the top video, we have the motion blur right here. We're going to hit M and then try to stitch these 2 videos together. So in the bottom video, when my hand is going up, we're going to cut in this motion blur. Get rid of the rest. And on the top video, we're going to look for the motion blur when it's coming down and make a cut. So now we get an effect like this. So in the first video, we're going to cut exactly on the frame where our hand is up, looking for this motion blur. In the top video, we're going to make a cut exactly when our hand is coming down, once again looking for that motion blur. This is the last frame from the first video. This is the first frame from the second video. So this is the cut that we have. But once you play it all together, it's pretty seamless. We are of course going to add more effects to make it even better. But for now, we need to do this with the rest of the transitions. Let's go for the section where we have our second transition. I'm going to make a cut when I'm seeing the motion blur. Drag the second half up and we're just going to turn it off for a second. So take a look at your second half and see in what direction your hand is moving. So we're going from bottom to top in this second half. That means that I need to look for a section where my hand is about to move from the bottom. So right over here, when my hand is all the way down and we have the motion blur, we're going to make a cut and get rid of the middle section. Now we have a cut like this. Just make sure that in the second video you're getting a motion blur and not a frame where your hand is in focus. Something like this, make a cut and get rid of the middle section. So now we have an effect like this. Now let's do this with our third transition, where we turn the two halves into one whole orange. Bring the second half on the top track, and look for the motion blur where the two halves are colliding. So it's right over here, make a cut, get rid of the excess, and then bring this guy down. Once again, we're looking for motion blur, make a cut, get rid of the center. So now we have something like this. And there's my full orange. Now that we have our cuts, it's now time to export our video so that we can add some final effects. Then clear our timeline so that we can bring in our base footage. First, we can resize our video so that we don't get these extra bits on either side. Go to File, Project Settings, and you can turn this from a landscape shot into a portrait. Now we're going to move to the start of our video, go to Animation, and add some keyframes to divert the attention of our audience to certain points in the video. Go to Customize, add a keyframe at the beginning, let's zoom in. And we're just going to create a comedic effect using these keyframes. So right when I'm about to do my first transition, I'm going to zoom in towards myself. We're also going to rotate it by about 3 or 4 degrees. Once we make our transition, we can zoom out until we are preparing for our next transition. So go back to the number that you had at the start, mine was 246, and turn everything back to the way it was. We're going to do the same thing when we're about to do the second transition. And finally, we're going to repeat the same thing for the third transition. You can always change the distance between each keyframe. The shorter they are, the faster it will be. The longer they are, the slower it will be. I will just add another keyframe at the start, and that way I can create a versatile effect. Finish off the effect with a simple color correction. I will go to the LUT section and grab the custom LUT effect. Add it right above your video, match the duration, then double click and choose your favorite LUT. We're now finished with the effect. Now you won't be running out of oranges anytime soon. Let's work together and create the same style.